then. Okay, members, I remind you that all mobile phones should be switched off as they can interfere with the recording system. And I'd move to agenda item number 2, apologies. The committee has received apologies from Michael Copeland, Mike Nesbitt and Megan Fearon. Are members aware of any other apologies? Okay.
The chair went to court.
I'm not 100% sure as to where the chair is, but I think he'd forward his apologies.
Got the financial course.
Okay. Well, happy to stand in for the chair wherever he is currently. My understanding is he's on business relating to Somme Memorial, so we've noted his apologies. In his absence, agenda item 3, chairperson's business. If I could direct members to an issue relating to parenting NI. At our meeting last week, we agreed that the chair would meet with representatives of Parenting NI to discuss issues around a delivering social change signature programme, Parenting Your Teen. That meeting has been arranged for Monday, the 6th of July at 10:30 a.m. Pip Jaffa, the Chief Executive of Parenting NI, will be joined by Charlene Brooks, Director of Parenting Education. If members wish to attend that meeting, if they could indicate to staff. Okay, at page 31 then, you'll also see a request from the Carnegie UK Trust to brief the committee on work of the Roundtable on measuring wellbeing in Northern Ireland and the report towards a wellbeing framework. Our members can tend to schedule a formal briefing in the autumn with representatives from the Carnegie UK Trust on this matter. Agreed? Okay. Okay then, members, just to remind you also that as agreed by the chairperson's liaison group in June, paper packs will no longer be produced for our meetings. Confidential papers will still be produced in hard copy, and a refresher session on the use of the electronic committee pack system will be available for members in the autumn. Members content? Okay. Okay then, members, a list of committees' current invitations are available at page 32. Members content to note those? Okay. Agenda item 4 then, members, is the draft minutes of the meeting of 24th of June 2015. They're available at page 34 of your meeting packs. Are members content to agree the draft minutes? Thank you. Agenda item 5 then, members, is matters arising. At page 43 in the list of outstanding correspondence is available. Members have any comments on that? Intent to proceed? Okay. Agenda item 6 then, members, can I refer you to the correspondence summary sheet at page 47, which details the correspondence received by the committee since we last met. I'll ask the clerk to speak to the correspondence that we've received.
Thanks, Chair. I'll just draw members' attention to just a couple of pieces of correspondence. The first is at page 50 from the Chair of the ETI Committee regarding that committee's inquiry into growing the economy and creating jobs with lower corporation tax. The Chair has indicated that there may be elements of that report that relate to this committee, and that this committee's chairperson may therefore wish to contribute during the plenary debate. It's just to check if the committee are content that I liaise with the clerk of the ETI Committee with regard to those issues.
Agreed. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. And then to draw your attention to table papers, at page 6 of the table pack, there's correspondence from Amnesty International and Savia, which includes a proposal paper on the issues of redress for victims of historical institutional abuse. Amnesty and Savia have also raised issues with regard to those victims not covered by the current inquiry. The most recent update that the committee had from OFMDFM was on the 3rd of April, which advised that options relating to those who fell outside the scope of the HIA inquiry are still being considered by ministers. So it's just to check if members wish to forward the papers to OFMDFM for a response.
Clerk, could I just, in addition, also say in the correspondence, representatives of Amnesty, Savia and other victims groups note their support for the proposals and say that they would be happy to meet with the committee or give evidence on these issues. Given the importance of the issue, can I propose that we take them up on that invitation and ask members whether they would support them, a representative deputation come to the committee to speak to this paper? Members content? Yeah. Okay.
What are our powers in this matter? Because the letter of the 3rd of December basically just reiterates a letter of the 11th. The 3rd of April reiterates a letter of the 11th of December, where we were advised that it's an option. So that's approaching 7 months, is it? It's 7 months on the eve of the 12th. We've been advised, and this is in the context that last year the committee didn't get replies to letters for 10 months. 2 letters didn't get a reply in 10 months in relation to this matter. So I don't think we're going to get around here. So what are the powers of the committee in relation to compelling answers after such a ridiculously period of time?
Can you advise us, Claire?
It's something I would need to seek more information on. Obviously, a number of committees have compelled papers lately, but I would need to check. I would need to take advice on that, to be honest, to advise you properly.
So, Alex, I suppose the representative group of Amnesty, Savvy and other victims group had provided a paper to OFMDFM in March 2015, and they haven't had a response to that. They also reference the fact that OFMDFM has commissioned 2 scoping or options papers. I think there's a disagreement around what terminology to use there, but they have commissioned some type of work into the matter of mother and baby homes. But there has been no decision in relation to that, and also the matter of clerical child abuse, which this committee noted when approving the passage of the historical institutional abuse inquiry, were going to be left out with that remit. So if we're looking for what could actually be compelled, perhaps it could be the work in relation to those 2 particular matters. I'd be keen to give that representative a group to come to the committee as early as possible in autumn in order to speak to those particular issues and in order to inform any action that the committee can take to support them, if members are content.
I agree with that, but behind what you just outlined, they've been looking at this for 6 months. That's what they officially have told the committee. 6 months. And that's in the context that they're not looking at the financial redress, which is what the Junior Minister advised the Assembly when the Hart inquiry was getting an extension of time. And yet Savia are asking for the financial redress issue to be dealt with now. But I do think that we are where we are, but if come the first week in September there's not a definitive answer, then I think we have to use our powers.
Perhaps members would agree that we can, in forward in this correspondence, make some expression of the fact that it has been quite some time before we've received a response, and that we'd be hopeful to have that for consideration in our first meetings in September. Content with that?
Sure. Is there not also
Sorry,
is there not also an issue of the judicial end of the inquiry, the judge? I mean, I can remember this issue coming up before in relation to early payments and all the rest of it, but it was made very clear that the judge, it was on the basis of providing an interim report, if I remember correctly, to allow money to be paid out, and the judge made it very clear that he was not in a position, nor would he, tolerate any meddling in the issue until he had completed his inquiry, and since that he was given some other work to do. So I think we just need to be careful. You know, it's all right for Mr. Atwood's always looking for pushing stuff from a legal basis and all the rest of it, but I think there's a very real danger of us starting to meddle in a process, an ongoing process, which, let's face it, it's at least 75% of the way there. Now, hopefully. And I mean, I don't think you'll get it resolved in terms of early payments, which is what really the group wants. And by bringing the group along, are you not just raising expectations that are not deliverable?
Sure, there are two issues. The one is the failure of OFMDFM to conclude the issue about how to look at victims of abuse outside the institutions. Second is the issue of redress. Hart's not going to report till January 2017, according to the current timeline. And given the time frame of work at FMDFM level, I don't think we're going to get a quick answer to the recommendations and conclusions that he comes to. So without prejudice, and I don't think it does any violence to Hart, in my view FMDFM should be scoping out now models of financial redress, so that in the event that that is what is believed is necessary in January 2017, we can move quickly, rather than wait to January 2017, hear what the recommendations are, and then do the scoping about what financial redress might look like. I don't think that's sustainable for the victims and survivors.
Okay.
Sure. I wonder maybe put a middle way on it, because I do agree with Jimmy on this one. I think we're probably pushing at something that is largely out of our control in this one. But I also accept that there is frustration within the sector. I mean, I speak to people from within it as well. Would perhaps a middle way be to maybe meet with this group, if members wish to, informally, rather than taking official evidence from them? Because I think by putting it into this forum, I think first of all, if we're going into something, not to be defeatist about it, but if we're going into something that we know that our fingers are not on a lot of the levers, then effectively we're using up very valuable committee time to take evidence on something that we may not actually ultimately be able to do very much about. But I think secondly, to substantiate Jimmy's point, I think perhaps if we're meeting them informally, it may not raise the same level of expectations that might be there if we are to sort of meet in an official open session like this. So perhaps if I could suggest respectfully a middle way that we agree as a committee to meet with to do so.
Yeah, my only concern is that the specific issues that the representative group, Amnesty, Savvy and other victims groups are raising are issues that the committee held concerns for itself when approving, supporting the creation of the Historical Institutional Abuse Inquiry, namely victims who fell outside institutions and timely redress. And whilst I take Jimmy's point that the issue of interim reporting and interim redress was rebutted by Judge Hart, I think we are entitled to continue to monitor the issue and entitled to request what work is happening in parallel with this process, because I think that was a clear view of the committee that, okay, we will accept that the current proposals of the Historical Institutional Abuse Inquiry pertain to a specific type of victim, and indeed there was a need for extension, but we wanted to be reassured of the work that was going on in parallel to that process. So I would be inclined to hear from the group, and if the response we receive from the department doesn't answer those questions, to consider other options available, whether that is requesting evidence from the department here or requesting papers. So I would leave that proposal on the table, that we do invite a representative deputation to committee.
Well, I'll make a counter proposal then. I would propose that the chair and deputy chair, any member who wishes to meet the group should do so. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but let's face it, this group, I'll probably be castigated for saying this, but at the end of the day, this group is not representative of everybody concerned. And to take on the point that Mr. Atwood made in relation to the department now sitting deciding what payments should be made and all the rest of it. I mean, really, let's face it, that's a bit of crystal ball gazing, because it's not all government at the end of the day, surely, in terms of damages or payments that will have to be made. I mean, I would imagine the church would have to make major payments as well, and that may well be something that has to be dictated by the judicial process in court direction in terms of those type of abuses that have taken place. I mean, I'm very sympathetic to the whole thing. I think everybody in this room is very sympathetic to the whole thing. But being sympathetic to the whole thing and raising people's expectations at this point in time, Chair, is a very dangerous place to be. I mean, you know, we all get briefed from time to time and spoken to by the groups concerned. And that's very good. We're all sympathetic in relation to it. But let's not meddle. I mean, I don't know what process you would use to approach the judge. The judge has made it very clear previously. And I mean, how do you go back to him again, given that he has given clear timescales, which Mr. Atwood has outlined? I know it's a long process, but the simple fact is that more and more was added on to the process as it went along, and possibly much more needs to be added. But he's not going to accept any more stuff at this moment in time, and we all know that.
Okay, well, look, first and foremost, we need to forward this correspondence to the department, and in order to seek their response and to seek an update as to regards the nature of the work that they had commissioned to examine issues that are raised in this correspondence. Perhaps the best time to make a decision as to our next steps, if any, in relation to that will be when we receive a response to that correspondence. If we can make clear in our letter to the department that we would like to have that for that response for consideration at our first meeting in September. Members content with that?
I want to report that I'm not content.
Okay. Do you want to make a counter proposal?
I believe we should first of all invite the representative Savia. Secondly, for the correspondence, say we want to reply. Get advice in the meantime about what the powers of the committee are in order to compel people. And just to confirm, I don't think it does any violence to Hart on a without prejudice basis for OFMDFM to scope out models of financial redress and other interventions if they think that's appropriate. That's without prejudice to Hart and without commitment to anybody that they're going to get anything.
Sure.
Alex, yeah?
I think we should seek an early and urgent meeting September after the recess with the department, and then take it from there. I mean, so that all you're doing is just parking the idea of bringing Salvi or taking any other advice. I think it is. I think we are well within our rights, but reasonable to take an early meeting with the first and deputy first minister, because some of these issues have been outstanding. We all do, as he said himself, we all share the concerns. We all are well aware of all of that. So probably if you really ask everybody would they want to push forward on, probably say yes. But there are complications, but so I think the way around it is to, because while I would support the underpinning sentiment that Alex is putting forward there, don't want to take any of that, but I do want to talk to the department ASAP.
Okay.
I think it's very reasonable that we do that.
Okay. DFM are with the committee on September the 16th. Is that an appropriate time to raise the issues with First and Deputy First Minister, Alex, or do you think there's a meeting needed in addition to that?
I'm happy
that's an appropriate time.
For a week, you know.
Right, okay. Well, we can ask for details in relation to powers of the committee to compel in the meantime. I'm happy to second my entitled as chair to second the proposal.
You don't need a seconder.
You don't need a seconder? Okay. Do we need...
Whose proposal?
If
Alex has a proposal to invite Amnesty representatives of Amnesty International, Savia and other victims groups who are contained in this correspondence to give evidence to the committee.
I mean, all I'm saying is I want to talk to the department first before we take any further decisions, because I know what their salary are asking for. I support most
Okay.
of their arguments.
Got a proposal?
Have a meeting yet, and all I'm saying is just park a date for that, the invite for that.
Right, okay. Well, I would
Again,
look.
so I just want to make it clear, nobody interprets it
Okay.
that it's, I'm against bringing salary here, because I'm certainly not.
Okay, I would be, as I had mentioned previously, I'd be content to invite Savvy to give evidence, but I don't think there's going to be support for that today. So let's try and.
It's not that anybody's against, all I'm saying is park the invitation for now until we speak to the department as a matter of urgency. You're telling us we're going to have the opportunity, maybe on the 6th
I think that's fair.
of September. That's the second week of September after recess.
Okay, and hopefully we would have detailed response from them to the concerns that have been raised in this correspondence prior to that as well.
And Chair, I'm
Okay.
also conscious, because I have spoke to victims who are not represented by Salvi
Yeah,
as well, so if, I'm very conscious that there's groups and individuals out there that, whose voices are not being heard in this committee.
And members are welcome and able to bring those voices to the table as well. Obviously,
How do we do that then?
well, you're free to do so anytime you want. I think it's important. I totally take on board the concerns of making sure we're representative of as many and all victims and survivors in relation to these issues, but it would be remiss not to acknowledge that Amnesty International, Savvy and other victims groups have associated with them did a significant amount of work in relation to the establishment of the inquiry and continue to do a significant amount of work to raise concerns and to provide support for people participating in the inquiry. But points have been made and noted in terms of making sure that we include all voices. Okay, members, we will.
Chair, I think what you're opening up now is sort of a mini inquiry, and what I would like to hear from the committee staff is there time to schedule that type, because what Bronwyn has just said in relation to the group who have asked for a meeting, there's many, and I know many as well, who would feel the same way. They're not represented by this group. This group is not representative of them. So there's a precedent being set, and there's other people being left out in the cold. We as the committee are in danger of doing that as well. So if this is going to be some sort of a mini inquiry that's going to be set up, then I think it has to be open to everybody. So that all groups could come.
Okay.
But is there time within the programme that has been arranged to start up something like that?
If you need me to be clear, there's certainly no attempt to create anything akin to a mini inquiry, and there's certainly no attempt to interfere with the independence or the due process of the existing inquiry. There's no precedent being set here other than a piece of correspondence that has been received being forwarded to the department for response. I don't think that needs to take any great time out of our committee business, and other proposals have been suggested that may be returned to in September once we've had a chance to receive the response from the department, and indeed to ask questions of the department at a session scheduled for 16th of September. I'm going to close it there if there's no other comments. Okay? Okay, members. Clerk, do you want to proceed with the rest of the correspondence, or is that us?
No, that's all. It's just to let members know there are a few other items in table papers that wouldn't normally go into table papers. It's just because this is the last meeting. It was just useful to get them into table papers for members' information. But that's it.
Okay, good job. Okay, does that include the ADI committee? Yeah.
Yes,
We're on
that's a different
to
one.
item 7
Yeah,
then, okay.
yeah.
Okay, members, agenda item 7 then is the draft forward work programme. A draft outline of our work programme for September is available at page 57, which reflects our discussion regarding our return following summer recess. You'll see that our first meeting back is scheduled for Wednesday the 2nd of September to consider matters relating to the committee stage of the NIPSO bill, and departmental briefings are scheduled for the 9th of September for the rescheduled ministerial briefing on the 16th of September. Do members have any comments? Members content with the proposed forward work programme? Okay, thank you. Okay, members, agenda item 8 is the formal consideration of the committee report on the Children's Services Cooperation Bill. Last week we completed the clause-by-clause scrutiny of the Children's Services Cooperation Bill, and the record of our discussions has been agreed earlier in the minutes of proceedings. Also, last week we considered an initial draft report of the committee stage of the bill. So our task today is to undertake the formal consideration of the report in order to complete our committee stage by the end of this week. The draft report provides a summary of the committee's deliberations on the bill and begins at page 60 in your meeting packs. Members, I would propose that we consider the report in sections, beginning with the introduction, and we will come back to the executive summary when the rest of the report has been finalised. Members, we should also be aware that after we have agreed the report today, it will be subject to proofing and editing by committee staff prior to publication. So before we proceed, do members have any comments? No? Okay then, our ask members, are you content with the introduction, which includes background to the bill and the committee's approach at pages 63 and 64?
Great.
Thank you. The summary of consideration begins at page 65, beginning with introductory text at paragraph 8, and then consideration of the evidence received in regard to the statutory duty to cooperation at paragraphs 9 to 16. Can I ask our members content with paragraphs 8 to 16? Agreed. Okay, are members content with paragraph 17 to 19 on page 67, which deal with the cooperation report?
Agreed.
And paragraphs 20 to 25, page 67 to 69, which deal with pooled budgets? Agreed. Paragraphs 26 to 32, dealing with children's services planning?
Agreed.
Paragraphs 33 to 36, which deal with the issue of sanction? Thank you. Then paragraphs 37 to 39, dealing with definitions? Paragraph 40 to 41, which deals with statutory guidance. Okay, members, the amendments proposed by OFMDFM are discussed in paragraphs 42 to 56. That's pages 73 to 76. The section begins with an introduction to the department's proposed amendments and then summarises each of the new draft clauses in turn. The formal clause-by-clause consideration will be dealt with after that. Members, can I propose that we add the following line to paragraph 45 that would read, the committee noted that amendments proposed by the department will require the support of the wider executive. Members content?
Yep.
Agreed. That's just a piece of housekeeping, that phrase, clerk, really, nothing strange or startling.
No.
Okay, are members content with paragraphs 42 to 56 as amended? Okay, members, the clause-by-clause consideration begins on page 77 of your packs with introductory paragraphs at 57 to 59. Are members content with these paragraphs? Okay, members content with paragraphs 60 to 64 on clause 1, the general duty? Paragraph 65 to 68 on clause 2, cooperation report? Paragraph 69 to 71 on clause 3, sharing resources and pooling funds. Paragraph 72 to 74 on clause 4, amendment of the Children Northern Ireland Order 1995. Paragraph 75 to 77 on clause 5, interpretation. Paragraph 78 to 79 on clause 6, short title. Paragraphs 80 to 81 on the long title. Okay, can we now return to the executive summary at page 62? And are members content with the executive summary? And are members content with the list of appendices at page 80? Okay then, members content that I clear the relevant extract from today's minutes detailing the committee's agreement of the report for inclusion in the appendices?
Agreed.
Okay. Members agreed that this report be the 14th report of the Committee for the Office of the First Minister and Deputy First Minister to the Assembly.
Agreed.
And members content to publish the report.
Agreed.
Okay, members, a typescript copy of the report will be laid in the Business Office by close of play tomorrow, and the remaining stages of the bill will be scheduled by the Business Office further to summer recess. Can I ask members, are they content to issue the bill sponsor and the department with a typescript copy of the report in advance of its formal publication. Agreed? Okay. Thank you, members. That's
Can I just ask, I presume there's been no further update from OFMDFM officials in respect to where they are in terms of their further clauses?
I don't think so. Clark, any update?
No, there hasn't. The officials did just email me after last week's meeting. They'd listened in. And just to clarify, obviously, the point about clearance being required by the executive, which is why I had to tidy up the report just with that line. But no, there's no further progress.
It's just that the normal pattern is that from the beginning of July to the first week in September, 2 or 3 executive meetings. It might be different this year because of our circumstances. All I'm pointing out is that if it is Stephen's intention to table consideration stage very early in the next term, and there's not much space for executive to consider, to receive, consider and pass any amendments. So I just think we need to keep the pressure on the officials to...
Right, Chair,
Yeah,
if I could just say, actually, that was actually pointed out, the official that I've been corresponding with actually did make the point that the bill sponsor did want to move on with this very quickly, so officials themselves are very conscious of this and they are trying their best to push things through.
I suppose that's another issue we can raise with First and Deputy First Minister on September 16th if necessary, although we'd wish there'd be process in advance of that. Yep. Okay, members, agenda item 9 is the Executive's Strategic EU Priorities for 2015-16 written briefing. At page 83 of your meeting packs, you'll see correspondence from the Department following our request on the 22nd of January on priority areas for European engagement for OFMDFM relating to the Commission's 2015 work programme. The information was requested to inform our report on Assembly Committee European Priorities, which was debated in plenary in April. Are members content to note the correspondence? Okay, we had been scheduled to have an oral briefing from OFMDFM officials on the Executive's performance against its strategic EU priorities for last year, 2014-15. And on the strategic priorities set for 2015-16. This has been rescheduled for early in the autumn session, but a written briefing with a draft copy of the Executive's European priorities for 2015-16 from the Department is available at page 88 to 99 of your meeting pack. You'll also recall that one of the recommendations from our inquiry into the Barroso Task Force, which the Department accepted in full, was that the Executive should publish its annual European priorities document in a more timely fashion, and certainly within the first quarter of the respective year. That timescale doesn't appear to be on schedule this year. Can I also draw your attention to the priorities as set out on pages 92 to 99. You'll see that the target for increased drawdown of competitive EU funds has been increased to 50%, and you'll also note a target to monitor competitive EU funding applications within each funding stream and benchmark performance. We've been made aware in oral briefings from officials that other proposed benchmarking exercises have proved difficult. Do members have any comments?
Well, looking at it very quickly, Chair, the only hard target is in the 15-16 plan is actually the one that you referred to, the 50% increase in drawdown of competitive funding. Now, one of the few hard targets in the PFG that was lived up to back a couple of weeks was the 20% increase in drawdown 14 to 15, or sorry, 11 to 15. So it's welcome that that's up at 50%. I presume they know that that can be achieved, otherwise they wouldn't put it in there. And after today's announcement, real probably confirms that 50% was manageable. But in any case, that's welcome. But Has there been any update now, 3 weeks later, about who decided in March or April to change the PFG assessments?
We have a response.
Okay, that was obviously change of the PFG reporting
Aye.
mechanism.
But I think this is 3 weeks. Can you Neil
Yep.
go off and find out the answer?
Okay, perhaps we can write to the department just to remind that we're seeking an urgent response to that.
I mean, I would like to make a point there that I think it is very welcome that that target is increased to 50%. Quite a jump, it's more than double. So, deliverable or not, hopefully it will be. Expectation that it will be, but I think it's important to welcome that.
Absolutely. I believe there's a positive announcement today in relation to drawdown of European funds in relation to transport and train investment as well. So I think it's important we do welcome positive developments there and hope that increase from 20% to 50% as a target. That is to be welcomed. Members content to pursue any other issues in relation to the statement through the oral briefing that we will have with officials in September? Agreed. Okay, members content to share the paper with other committees?
Yep.
Agreed. Okay then.
The one thing, the more accurate way to put that 50% is not 50%. It is actually going to be an increase of 20%, 14, 15. I forget. I'll come back to it.
Okay. As I said, we'll have the officials will be at the committee in September, so we can go into that in a bit more detail. Members, before we move to closed session for consideration of the draft report into inquiry in the Building United Community, and I would urge you to remain for that in order that we can sign that off. Do members have any other business? No? Okay. Can I, just before we do move into closed session, and I should have done it while he was still at committee today, sincere apologies for him not doing so, but our committee member, Mr Jimmy Spratt, obviously announced this week that he would be retiring from office. I would certainly like to convey he'll be here in September. Okay, well then we can pay our tributes again in September when he's back with us again. At that stage. Okay, members, then, if there's no...
30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30.